think we've probably got most folks in here that were intending to jump on for this call, so I'm going to get into it. So, and I'm recording now as well, so that's all sorted. So, yes, there are going to be creator rewards that we're going to be talking about. Stick around. It's probably going to be about 15-ish minutes, I'd assume 15, 20 minutes of just talking through some other bits and pieces. But included within that will be some creator reward specific stuff. Okay, so let's go. So first of all, yeah, just calling out, if you haven't filled in the form, there's a QR code that you can scan right there. It's in the content creators channel. It's on that link. I'm trying to make this easy for you guys. I'm sure you've all figured it out at this point, but it's right there if you haven't already signed up. So who the hell am I, right? My name is Milo. My YouTube channel is Mr. Ruffle Waffles. I've been making content for 14 years, which is pretty terrifying to say. It was actually about 3 days ago that my channel turned 14. So I've been here. I'm an old OAP, right? I'm an old guy. And on my channel currently to date, I've got across my channel is about 2 million followers, 500 million-ish, give or take, lifetime views. And I cover primarily Call of Duty Zombies, but I've also covered other games. I've covered other shooters. I've covered all sorts of bits and pieces over the years, right? And worked with all sorts of teams, and not just teams that develop games, but other teams in the space as well. And we'll get into that. So on the Parallel side, I've been following the project since super early. I think I first saw the Twitter appear maybe the month it was created, potentially, just from trawling Twitter during a bull market, as we all did, or as many of us did at least. So saw it then, and then jumped in with Pack Drop 1, and have just separate to any actual work with the team, have been a collector since then. I like the cards. It's just been something that piqued my interest all the way back a little while ago now. So been following things. In terms of industry experience, like I said, a lot of my focus over the years has been Call of Duty. I, for example, this shot here, have been invited to probably at this point about 30 or 40 Call of Duty events with Activision, early preview events for the game, sometimes being like one of the first people to get hands-on with a given DLC or a new map or what have you, giving feedback along the way, working with the developers, etc. So that's on the COD side, but then there's other bits and pieces like I mentioned, right? So an example is with Ubisoft, who are also in the space now, which is really cool. I hosted a show for them for over a year that was like a sort of broad, diverse gaming show, not just covering one game, but instead covering a whole selection of different games, some older games, some newer games, like a real mix. We brought in a bunch of talent from the games industry for that as well. So I was working with people like Julia Hardy, who's one of the best known hosts in the sort of games industry for whether it's awards shows or whether it's tournaments or what have you. So folks like that, other creators, like this is one of my closest mates, Liam Winter. We go back a long way. So have done things like that. So in-person hosting. I've also I've helped co-produce and also host tournaments in my time. So there have been various Zombies tournaments for Call of Duty, which I've been a commentator for, but then also co-produced a couple of years ago, which has been really exciting. And some of that expertise I'm hoping to share with the Parallel team going forward. And like I said, I also do a bunch of consulting and work with developers and publishers and agencies and other creators, and the list goes on, right? It's a what's the phrase? A wide tent, a broad tent, something like that.
Huge tent.
Huge tent. Yes, it's enormous. It's gargantuan. And that leads us to Parallel. So, how the hell am I helping Parallel? Where do I fit into the picture here? So, currently, my sort of responsibilities cover a bunch of different bits and pieces. I'm first and foremost helping advise the team on things that I've experienced over the years as being pain points in influencer marketing and the general influencer industry from other video games that I think Parallel is perfectly positioned to completely dodge all of those mistakes and like set industry standards for the ways that these sorts of things should go. I think that there's a real opportunity here, and we'll get into that in a moment. I'm also going to be helping build out specific creator activations, some of which we'll be discussing towards the end of this call. So if you guys are interested in whether it's early access to something, whether it's exclusive access, like specific talking with the team about a certain thing, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's free goodies, whatever it might be, all those sorts of things would fall under the creator activations umbrella there. But then also, somewhat uniquely, certain publishers and studios have been trying to start doing this over the years, but they struggle a lot because they don't have people like myself within their team in order to be able to actually give out a lot of this expertise. But we want to be doing some form of creator support as well. So some initial mentorship, some initial kind of getting folks up to speed. If they're a newer creator and they're keen, they're excited, but they don't fully know the direction to go in to begin with, helping kind of provide some advice and some steering in those instances in order to make sure that you're spending your time as well as possible, and you can also sort of get jump started a little bit. Like you can skip some of the, how the hell does this work? Because you have someone like myself trying to help kind of steer you in the right direction. So that's an exciting piece of the puzzle as well. Also, the sort of more itty-bitty parts of specific campaigns, making sure that the team is fully up to date on all the best practices of like how to price things and all of that goes into doing influencer campaigns. And I look like I've jumped the gun and talked about my fourth bullet point second. So that's supporting you guys once again, repeating that one. So for parallel content, for all of you, everyone that's in here right now, every single one of you, I think there's a really massive opportunity. It doesn't happen often at all that you find a new IP from a new studio which is coming into the market. No one like really knows about it in a much sort of broader sense of the word, right? Like the folks that only play Call of Duty every day don't yet know that this opportunity is here. Like you are early in a very literal sense. And what that means is that it's the Wild West. You can get a head start on like 99% of people because you, in a mere number of weeks, right? Beta is not far away, are going to be able to start pumping out that content that normally in a Call of Duty scenario or a Hearthstone scenario or whatever, there's already a huge cohort of creators ready to jump on any single opportunity or piece of content that pops up, right? And so you're normally competing with an entire machine which is engineered not in your favor, right? It's in their favor. Whereas in this instance, it's very much in your favor. This is a really awesome opportunity to say, okay, there's a complete like vacuum of content of people with hands-on of the game, playing the game like day to day right now, because obviously that's just not been possible prior to beta. And you have the opportunity to really sink your teeth in and make names for yourself in that community as well, and steer the direction of where the community goes over the next several years, hopefully. So within that, there are obviously things that exist in other similar games, similar TCGs, similar card games, but then also just in other games, period. Like there are content formats that I can imagine from Call of Duty that would absolutely work in parallel. It just is going to take coming along and having the idea and getting the work done and getting that content out, right? But the easiest analogs are going to definitely be from things like Magic, from things like Hearthstone. Like if you right now today, if you're like, oh, I want to get some ideas, I want to get the sort of juices flowing and just kind of try and inspire myself, like look up Gwent content on YouTube. Look up like Pokemon the TCG or Yu-Gi-Oh, like or any one of these games. There's a Marvel Snap, right? Really, really fantastic example. Marvel Snap's obviously much more recent, has a real community on YouTube. And if you look at that content and go, hold on, a dozen of these formats will work perfectly for parallel and there'll be like no competition making the content, that's a massive opportunity, right? So that's something that I would encourage you to be thinking about. We'll talk more about that on the next slide. And also, I just want to call out that the team is going to be really paying attention to all of your efforts in the next several months, several years, right? This is not something where we're going to say to you today, hey, we think it would be really cool if you took some inspiration from these other content formats and then made them. And then we're just going to sort of leave you there, right? We're not going to like walk away and be like, okay, bye. The conversation doesn't end there, right? So the team is going to be paying attention to all of that content that's being made, paying close attention to it, and also trying where possible and where appropriate to help promote that content. And that's something that we're going to talk about towards the end of this presentation. So stay tuned for some of the ways that we're thinking about that happening. So did the slide change? Hold on.
Yeah, I see
there we go.
Changed.
Okay.
Content we'd love to see.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
took a second for on my side, but it's showing now. So
you know, I love this slide. I'm a big fan of this slide.
Hell yeah. So this is Fitch's favorite slide, and it's for good reason, because this is just sort of putting into words some of the specific sort of genres of content that I think are going to be really fantastic to see, both from a growth opportunity for you over the next couple of months, but then also from a partnership perspective with the Parallel team and working together with you, with the community, to build the best possible thing here, where everyone comes away in 6 months or a year or whatever and is like thrilled that we managed to kind of get this off the ground in the way that we have, right? So number one, huge, I cannot stress enough, I've made my career off doing videos like this, crazy huge opportunity for guides, explainers, and how-to content, okay? Right now, the vast majority of people, we're talking a tiny fraction have played it, the vast majority have not. They've never had hands-on with the game. The vast majority haven't played alpha. They haven't had a chance to play at conventions like 3XP. Some of us have, absolutely, like some of us within this group have, but the vast majority have not. And as such, they're gonna need a huge amount of explainer content for basics like what the hell is a paragon, guys? Okay. And what is a Markolian? Can you put that in a sentence for me? What's the country of origin, right? And once you start sort of unpacking, okay, all of these different like words that make up the rule book, even for instance, they all need explaining. And then knowing how to even use the rulebook is going to need explaining, and how to play a match is going to need explaining, and strategies are obviously going to need explaining. Beyond that, specific cards that just you want to break down the actual use of, because if any of you have played Magic, I'm sure you'll be very familiar with the fact that when you're starting to learn a game like that, sometimes you pick up a card and you read its little description of what it does, and you're like, I'm sorry, but someone else is going to have to explain this to me. There's absolutely no chance that I'm going to be able to translate this gobbledygook that's written on this card, right? So you go to the wiki or you go to whatever, and then you're like, man, that's still actually kind of unclear. Like, I'm trying to understand like the order of operations here, or I'm trying to understand how this one effect works, or what timing of it is, or whatever, right? 1,000,001 things like that are really difficult for people. And you've always got to assume also in these instances that most people are much dumber than you are. It's just the nature of the game, right? Assume that they need a lot more help with this, and make content to serve those people and to accommodate those people, so that nobody picks up Parallel and goes, hold on, how does this card work? And ends up basically bouncing off the game or bouncing off your content because they can't quite figure it out, right? Huge opportunity there. Can't stress it enough. There's also storyline, right? So Parallel's narrative and lore and the story behind the cards is something that is absolutely going to end up with an audience of its own. And those of you who are really good storytellers are going to be able to jump onto that wave and say, okay, well, if this is mostly unintelligible to people right now because they don't know where to look to find out about the story, and they don't know how to piece things together or whatever, right? For example, they might not know that like comics are a thing. So they might be like, okay, well, I'm trying to only get the story from like flavor text on a card, and there's missing pieces, right? You can fill those gaps in, you can fit those missing pieces together and create a narrative and tell the narrative online. And that's going to be something that I think has potential to do really, really well. Massive opportunities there. Another option, which I'm sure many of you are already planning to do probably as soon as you get access to the beta, is stream, right? Everybody here, I'm sure, has seen all of the news recently regarding the various streaming platforms and all the crazy stuff that's been going on with massive streamer deals and all sorts of stuff like that. So streaming is sort of at the forefront of everyone's minds right now, I'm sure. And streaming is something that I would suggest and recommend you think about in a twofold manner, okay? Number one, streaming is obviously a great opportunity to just create content that is a stream. Don't get me wrong, that is super valid and it's going to be like super exciting. That's one thing. But streams are also an opportunity for you to double dip. You can be streaming and creating stream content, but also recording and planning whatever video you've got coming out next week, let's say, where you're like, okay, I want to use a certain deck and showcase me like going on a win streak with it or whatever, right? You can do that on stream. So think about ways that you can get better leverage for your time and double dip to create like 2 pieces of content at once. That's something that I know that starter creators don't necessarily think about super often, but just something to be thinking about, right? From those streams, obviously there's highlights, there's challenges that you can set yourself that can make really great content as well. So maybe on the stream, like I said, you're going for a win streak and then you edit that down into a video where you're showcasing your win streak and you're showcasing how difficult it is and you tell a story, right? That sort of content is always going to do really well. And that's on all platforms too. You could post that on TikTok and it's going to do fantastic. You can post it on YouTube. Like there's options, right? Alongside all of those things, something that is a little bit more focused on building your relationship with the Parallel community and with the Parallel team is game design, the meta itself, having those conversations in public, right? It's all well and good to talk with your friends in a server of some description or on social media and say, yeah, I think actually like Shroud's just busted right now, or I hate playing against Cathari. It's just annoying, right? That's all well and good. And the team has tools in place to be able to track those conversations, right? That's industry practice. You have tools that you can essentially data scrape places like Twitter, etc., to get sentiment checks on what people are saying and what the vibe is. But it's even better if you're thinking about those things and you're having those conversations privately to just make a YouTube video and be like, okay, so I'm really frustrated by Cathari right now. They're just making me angry and I want to talk about it, right? Those sorts of videos are gold. I promise you, the team is not going to be looking at those and going, well, this person, like she's just complaining, he's just moaning, whatever, right? That's not going to be what the team sort of takes away from that. Instead, we're going to see you're clearly very passionate about the game. You clearly are getting your teeth into it. You're getting stuck in and you're doing your best, whatever that might be, to break down what it is that you don't like and break down the feedback that you do have and to try and ultimately contribute to making this better for everyone, right? So we recognize that feedback's sort of stuff, speaking from definite experience here, can be a little intimidating at times because you're like, well, I'm not an expert, so maybe they've already considered this and maybe this is the way that it should be. We get it, okay? We promise we get it, but game design and meta content, we love, okay? Bring it in. And then also something I really want to call out here is short form content. There's such an untapped market for really good video game content on short form platforms still to this day. And that goes for established AAA games and that goes for new IPs like this one. It's no matter where you look pretty much, people are still in the process, and this is going to probably be happening for the next year, maybe more, maybe 2, but certainly for the next year, people are still figuring out exactly what works, exactly what the best practices are. You got to remember, short form content of this type is super new. Like YouTube Shorts are such a new phenomenon. I was testing YouTube Shorts in beta, and they were getting feedback like every day and trying to improve it and trying to improve it and trying to improve it. Everyone's obviously trying to chase on the coattails of TikTok. TikTok also is changing every single day. TikTok is also trying to figure out exactly what works. And a lot of TikTok in the West, all of their decisions are based on TikTok decisions that have already rolled out, products that have already rolled out on TikTok in the East, right? So like in other countries, there's completely different capabilities there. And that means that different content styles are possible. So I think that you guys should be really thinking over the next year as you jump into your content, as you play around, as you experiment, that there's like so much value to be had from just doing a stream. Absolutely. But then thinking, okay, what if I just take like 10 seconds from my stream and I make a TikTok, right? And that takes maybe 15 minutes of your day. And you're just like, what if I just experiment and I do a new type of it every single time? One is just a pure highlight. One is with my camera at the top and the gameplay below. One is with no camera. Like, you just experiment, you iterate, you see what works. Short form truly is in an amazing, ripe place right now. And I want you guys to benefit from that, because you can genuinely catapult your career by doing so. I'm just going to take a sip of water here because I'm talking like I don't know. Had 3 coffees before this call.
The passion is palpable. It's great. I love it. Kick the door in.
Hell yeah. So how should you guys get in touch? Okay, so obviously I've said making feedback content, all that sort of stuff. Love it. Please, please, please make as much of that stuff as you can, as you possibly can. But obviously, the way these things work, there are going to be points where you want to specifically call out, actually, or there's just a little bug that I want to let the team know about, or you have a question about an embargo. Maybe we've given you early access to something and you're not sure exactly when it is that you're allowed to post a certain thing and you want to make sure that you're not breaking the rules. Or it might be that there's just some feedback you have about the overall program, or there might be some ideas that you have about future creator rewards that you want to suggest, or you just want to chat, right? All of that stuff I would recommend you put in the content creators channel of this Discord. The same one that I mentioned before. That's the main place that I think currently those sorts of conversations should be had. Part of the reason for that is that you're just going to get a quicker response in there, because then it's not just me. It's not just an individual person if you're reaching out to someone else from the team, but rather it's obviously dozens of eyes on. Other people in the community can help you in that instance. And then also mods in here are going to know answers to your questions. Other team members are going to be able to check in. Like, it's just a really good place to do it. But separate to that, right now, just like in the next week, 2 weeks, for example, if you do have a specific question that you don't think, and only if you don't think it could be answered easily in the content creators channel, then you're welcome to email me. I'll do my best to get back to you. But obviously, as you can appreciate, there's a lot of you, and there's only going to be more of you as time goes by. So I'd really appreciate if you could just try the content creators channel first. That would be my ask for you guys, okay? So moving on. This is spicy, isn't it? Okay, so our first creator reward, as we're calling them for the time being, is guaranteed beta access, but with a little asterisk on it. Okay, so this isn't just guaranteed beta access for anyone, obviously. There is a specific offer that is being made here. There's a specific reward that is being presented. Okay, so what we want to do, we've already got many of you signed up to the creator database, essentially, that we're compiling to keep you guys looped in for opportunities in the future, right? We've already got many of you on that list. Some of you, though, we don't yet have. And if we don't have your info, I apologize if you were here right at the beginning, and I'm repeating myself now, but there have been about 50 people that have joined since we started the call, so I'm going to repeat it. If you're not already on the creator contact list, the first thing that you need to do to check a box towards guaranteeing yourself beta access is to follow the link that's on the screen here, or much more easily, just go to the content creators channel of this Discord, and the pinned message in there contains a link to the form where you can fill out your details. It's basically just who you are, like your handle, what your channels are, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, bits and pieces like that, and your email address, right? We need that information so we can loop you into opportunities. So that's the first thing that you need to do. The second thing is, in the next couple of weeks, in the run-up to beta, which we're all waiting for with bated breath, we want you to just create one singular piece of content, one single thing, whether it's a Twitter thread, whether it's a TikTok, whether it's an Insta post, a YouTube video, fan art. You could literally submit some fan art to us. You could mention a community tool that you've built, right? any of those things, we want you to submit to us. They can be, they don't have to be like, you don't have to have hands-on, obviously, with the game in order to do this, by the way. It could be a TikTok that you make saying, it could be you talking to camera, or if you don't show your face, it could be you just on the website. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you're anonymous here. There's still plenty of fun ways to make content. You could be a VTuber. You could have an avatar that you're putting on screen instead. All sorts of options. But you could be in that TikTok saying, parallel beta's coming up here. It could be an explainer saying like, here's what's happening in the next like 2 months for Parallel. It could be a little bit of discussion about just like what you think of the game so far and what you want to do first. It could be like anything that you can think of in any of the forms that are listed there. And if you have any questions about other potential things, like if you want to make some other cool piece of content, you might want to make like a physical model of something or some crazy thing like that, then just reach out in the content creators channel. Make sure that it's something that you can kind of like communicate to us in some way. But then you need to submit that to us on this content submission form, which I will put in the in that Discord channel, the content creators channel, as soon as I'm done with this call. Someone might have already done it. But we'd like you to do that sometime in the next couple of weeks, right? So like whenever you get an opportunity, the only thing that we're going to say is not going to count as content here is basically just a single tweet, right? If you just tweet out 2 forward slashes, that's really awesome that you are participating in that kind of meme in the Parallel community. But we would like you to do a little more than that, just something. And part of the reason for this is that there's a lot of people that signed up to the content creator sign up form. And we just want to make sure that you're actually intending to create in some capacity, because the beta is not global open access from the very beginning for a reason. And if we make it so that it feels like it's global open access for everyone via this channel, like if we don't vet anyone, if we don't ensure that you are who you, that you're a creator as you say you are, then it's essentially just open access, but it's awkward, right? We don't want to make it like that. So that's the ask for this creator reward. There's another reward coming in a second on this next slide. So this is not the only thing to be excited about, but for the time being,
hey, Milo.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I think that that link is throwing 404. So before we actually have people submit anything, I think.
Give me.
Yeah. Let's just
2 seconds. I might be able to fix that on the fly. Look at that. Okay. So I'm just going to enter the mainframe here, and we'll figure out why that's 404ing. Because it's okay.
Apparently QR works. Yeah.
The QR code works. Okay. So
that's what someone said. Yeah.
I will put it in the content creators channel. Does that actually not work? Because have I misspelled something there? bit.ly/parallel. Oh. Wait, no. bit.ly/parallel content.
Waffles, send me the link first.
Oh, sorry. I've just posted it. My bad. But it's working. As far as I can tell. In the content creators channel, that seems to be working to me, like on my end. Is that not working for other people?
We can troubleshoot it after. I mean,
okay.
It may be fine.
Sure. Okay. Well, I don't know exactly what is. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay.
Okay. Apparently, we're good. So.
Okay. We do a little pinning. Thank you so much, Dave. So that link now is in the content creators channel. I'm just gonna find the stage so I can get that back on my screen. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so just to be abundantly clear, you need to be signed up to the creator contact list, this point number 1 here, before you submit the link or submit the actual content on the second link, okay? So just make sure you do both of those things, please, because otherwise it's all well and good that you're submitting content, but we're not going to be able to loop you in for opportunities. So we need you to do both, okay? Now then, I'm just going to take another sip of water here. Number 2. This is a fun one. So to kick off this aspect of creator activations, I just want to take 2 minutes here to say, right now, oh, and yes, by the way, recent content, totally fine. Recent content, like if you've posted something like a week ago or something, and you want to submit that on the form, totally fine. I just saw that in the chat. But the more content, the better, obviously. I mean, I'm never gonna say no to more content. Anyhow, I want to spend 2 minutes here talking about creator activations in the wider space and how the Parallel team is looking at this in the present moment, okay? So, as things stand right now, with creator programs at various studios, you obviously have a massive number of grassroots creators that just post. They love what they're doing. They post what they're enthusiastic about. And they, in many ways, can build their businesses completely independent of the actual game studio, of actually having a relationship with them. You're just doing your thing. You're earning money from, whether it's YouTube AdSense, you're earning money from sponsorships you might have, like I don't know, random company comes along, like a Squarespace, like, right, those sorts of things. So that exists. But then separate to that, there's obviously also opportunities to say, okay, maybe we want to go to a specific Magic the Gathering streamer and say, we'd love you to actually post some Parallel content, right? And so there'd be some kind of paid activation that would be done there where, let's say we want them to stream the game for a certain number of hours, we want them to make a video or whatever, right? There are options available to you. And these are campaigns that I've participated in myself a million times over the years. I mean, I just did one with Sony a few weeks ago, all sorts, right? So, in our case, we want to obviously sort of follow the roadmap of what the industry does, but we want to try and improve things where we can as well. So just to kick off here, initially, we're offering a way for folks that make content in the next couple weeks, specifically, to earn themselves some Prime. Okay? So, we're just getting started here, so let me run through the detail. So, the idea is we're giving you a week, I mean, it's starting now, but a week, the first week of August as well, where we're also giving you, as part of the sort of submission time. And the idea is that you guys are going to be making content now, and you're going to be making content as soon as you get beta access. And then you'll have the first week of August as well. The top 3 pieces of content made by you guys in that time are going to be judged by a panel of judges, and the creators of those winning pieces of content, the top 3 that those people pick, will receive 200 Prime each. And it will be this is essentially just a very early stage creator incentive to say, okay, you made a banging piece of content on the first day you got beta access, and it's a really fantastic guide, or it's a really, really funny meme that you've created, or what have you. Top 3 of those will earn 200 Prime each. The content must be submitted via the form that I sent before. So if you make a video and you're like, damn, I'm going to make another video that's better, I've still got time, and I want to submit something better, then absolutely, we'll allow you to do that. But the idea is that you submit via that form, and from all of those collective submissions and all of the things that you submit there, we will have the panel of judges judge the top 3 of those, and then the winners will get 200 Prime each. Now, I recognize that this Prime pot is just a little pot, right? This is just a little sprinkle of Prime. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you this is going to change anybody's life necessarily in the next sort of month, right? And the reason for that is on this next slide here. So it's the future of the creator program and where things are going. This is just the very beginning of opening things up. We're giving you guys guaranteed access for just making a thing and the opportunity to get a little sprinkle of Prime. But the future of the program is that we want to build this alongside you guys. And in order to do that, we want to be having those conversations with you. We want to be listening to your feedback in the Discord. We want to be watching all of your content, consuming all of your content, seeing what you guys are saying, and wrapping that up into the way that we continue to roll out this program over the next several months, right? So there are different angles that maybe are going to be more valuable to some of you than others. So some of you, if you're not really interested in being a full-time creator, you're not trying to grow a massive audience, you just feel like being creative and making stuff, maybe you just want to make friends in the creator community, and maybe you'd love some free swag, right? Other ones of you might already have an established channel in another game, in another genre, and you might be like, well, for me, it makes the most sense to do a specific paid activation, but the majority of my content does need to be on whatever my other game is, right? We recognize that's the nature of the industry. So for some of you, a specific payment, specific Prime rewards or what have you might be the best. For other ones of you, it might be that some kind of dollar payment is the best, or just a traditional sponsorship format. For other ones of you, you might say, well, I could get paid, like let's say you've got a channel where you can get maybe like 2,000 views on a YouTube video, right? You might say, okay, well, I could get paid $1 payment for the views that I'm pulling in here, or maybe I could get some free mentorship from the team, and that could be the thing that really moves the needle for me, so that rather than getting just $1 payment for your 2,000 views, you get some one-to-one feedback that means that in a month's time, you're actually getting 20,000 views video, right? So that might be much more valuable to some of you. So there's different things here that are individually going to be things that move the needle for you most. To be completely transparent, I totally recognize that this is just a dusting of Prime, but it's with the idea in mind that we can do this right now and then figure out, okay, do we want to do a massive Prime pool for maybe a longer period of time? Do we want to do a massive Prime pool over the course of like 3 months or something? And then like every quarter, we decide what the best content was? Do we want to have a completely different model? Like there's 1,000,001 ways to do this. And because we're in this unique position where we're working with a game that's a new IP, right? But then simultaneously, it's using all this new tech. There's all this tech under the hood, all of these new ways of monetizing the content that you own, obviously in the game, etc. And so we want to make sure that alongside building out all that new cool stuff, we're also building out new cool stuff in terms of creator incentivization that is actually most appropriate for you guys. So that's the plan for right now. You can get guaranteed access, which in itself is going to put you way above ahead of the competition. So that's going to be huge. And then second to that, a little sprinkling of Prime with the idea of like us figuring out exactly how best to keep incentivizing you guys going forward and meeting your needs. Really trying to take your feedback on board so that we can do this together. That's the key here, as far as I'm concerned. So we'd love you to be vocal, like I've said. I think I'm clicking here. I think that might be my last slide. So unless Fitch has any specific bits and pieces
Milo. Yeah. Wanted to quick and answer Kawatech's question more specifically. So,
you're lagging a bit, Fitch. Is that just me, guys, or is that?
Can you hear me?
He's choppy. Yeah, you're something's going on with either your internet or your noise gating, maybe, Fitch.
Can you hear me now?
That wasn't choppy. That might be better. Say
okay,
something?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I think. Tell me what you had for breakfast.
I had a smoothie for breakfast. Is it fine now?
Sounds good. Yep, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I think my internet was just fucked up. Yeah, so the question that he was asking, just got hijacked. I see the memes in the chat. Yeah, so the intention here is to like work with you guys directly and get feedback on what type of rewards are sort of more generally interesting to most people. And there's going to be more of like a structure and a program here. But what I think just kind of to get us started, we wanted to put a little Prime out there just to kind of see some different types of content, see people get a little creative. And then as we see people kind of making content on parallel, we're going to pull kind of active people into different types of activations separate. So it's more like ongoing program, right? That we're figuring out the best way to make that look. To answer your question, no, we're not thinking everything is going to be 100% crypto. Obviously, that doesn't really make sense. for a lot of content creators, and we don't want to alienate anybody. And then, in terms of, like, for example, you potentially, if you're making content and the content's hitting, we might pull you in for specific sponsored content separately and
Yeah.
one-off basis. We might pull you into invitationals with large prize pools. We might pull you in for consultation on certain matters. So I think that's kind of we want it to be a dialogue. And to directly answer your question, no, the only types of incentives offered will not be Prime, but that will be part of it. So we want to have a structure that works for anyone and everyone at the end of the day. But we also want it to be a dialogue as we go. So
to elaborate on that as well, something I think is really, really important to share here is that obviously, probably the vast majority of us, if not all of us, know Parallel as an NFT project, right? Like that is where many of the people here will have heard about it initially. But obviously it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. And the wider public perception of the game in a mere few months' time is not going to be, oh, it's just an NFT project. It's going to be, this is a video game, and there are also some unique monetization methods being employed for their MTX, their microtransactions, right? And as a result, if in a few months' time, the team is yelling from the rooftops endlessly saying, like, all our creators are only paid in Prime, like, wait, get the drums out, football chants ahoy, like, it's just not going to go down well, right? Obviously. But recognizing the there's an audience for that, but then there is absolutely also an audience that is going to be only interested in dollars, right? And access and mentorship and all those other sorts of things is going to be essential. And that's something that I think is really worth remembering, that you guys are a cohort of people that, like, if you received a Prime payment, you would know how to deal with that. But for someone that's completely new to all of this, you send them something like Prime and they don't really, like, they don't interact with crypto in any other way, they're going to mess up how they submit that on their taxes, and things are going to go south for them very fast. Like, especially if it's a big payment and they don't realize how all that stuff works, it's going to be really awkward for them, right? So we're obviously trying to be smart here and make sure that the community's best interests are taken into account, because yes, you guys are much more likely to be able to receive a Prime payment and that be a good thing, whereas for someone that has no idea what's going on, there are obviously going to be channels that they would prefer, probably dollars, right? So we're trying to consider this from the perspective of, this isn't just an NFT thing. This isn't just a crypto thing. This is a video game. And it's a video game operating within the parameters of how the video game space works rather than how the Web3 game space works, right? So we're looking at this from the wider, broader perspective. But obviously you guys might think that fiat is dirty and you don't want it. So we recognize both
I see the Marco slander in here that won't be tolerated. Cookie Monster, please please stop. So the point I want to really drive home here is that Parallel is a game, right? It's a game. It's a franchise. You do not require NFTs to play. Frankly, I don't give a shit if you ever say the word NFT in any piece of content. I would almost prefer that you don't, right? It's part of what is happening here. It's not the main point, right? The main point, and same with Prime, right? It's like, the main point is it's a franchise and a game. We want people to play the game. We want people to understand and enjoy the game. And if they are interested in these other sort of elements of the experience, they can pursue those elements of the experience. If they're not, they don't have to. It's the same way that I might be really into unique skins for my character in a certain game, and another player doesn't care, right? And that's totally fine. And so, if you want to, and maybe your area of expertise is making content on the NFT piece, sure, that's fine to do that. But what we're generally trying to do here is have game content. And that's going to feed everything else anyway. We don't need to push these other angles because that's sort of incidental, right? So I just want to really encourage people to not feel like they have to say anything about NFTs here. And like I said, I almost would prefer that you don't. It's more of just like talk about the game, help people understand the game. It was a green smoothie, Sean. Really tasty. There's a little ginger in there, so it's zesty. But yeah, I know, right? But yeah, the point here is that we're trying to have game content. We're not trying to shill NFTs. Like I'm aware that people have a variety of different perspectives on NFTs in the gaming community, and I don't want anyone to feel like they need to be pushing that because you don't, right? The fact that they're completely optional in the parallel experience is intentional, right? That's the way that it's designed for a reason. And that reason is that if you don't want to ever engage in that piece of it, you don't have to. And so you don't have to feel like when you're talking to an audience that is anything that you have to say, because you don't. So
exactly. And like, as I said before, like in the content we'd love to see box, there's nothing here that's like a monetization related thing, right? This is not about
you don't see NFTs, you don't see Prime, like we're not trying to push people to make content on that. If people like the game, then other elements will be fed naturally,
Yeah. So with that said, I think we probably have a couple minutes here for a couple questions. No worries, Rye. Thanks for being here. How do we want to do questions? Should we do them in the chat? And we can just read them from the chat. It's probably the easiest.
Yeah, easier than pulling people on stage, I think. So if people have remaining questions, they can certainly drop them in the chat, and we'll have a little bit of time here to maybe answer some of those things. But I think, just to kind of like rehash the ending point here is that we want this to be a dialogue. We want to work with people. We don't have the full thing fleshed out already. We're actively working on it and ideating it, and we want you guys to be a part of that process. And so, there is more structure. There is more diversity of types of rewards coming down the line. There will be events. We will, do all the things in due time. But for now, we just kind of want to express and extend that olive branch, to the creator community and say, hey, we're interested in you guys. We want to support you guys. We want to shine a light on you guys. We will incentivize you guys and help us understand kind of what the best way that looks is. And let's get some content going and kind of take a look at it and start to, structure that incentive a little bit better.
Hell yeah. So yeah, if you've got any questions, anything that you're uncertain about, whether it's to do with best practices, whether it's to do with the specific asks from us on submitting stuff in forms, anything at all, now is your opportunity for the next couple minutes here. I'm just going to read some stuff from the chat as if I was doing a Twitch stream. Kay says, just want to say thank you for answering all my previous questions. Last piece discussed here. I'd love to offer my ideas regarding the competitive and esports scene as a caster and host and continue to grow this amazing game. So that's the sort of thing we would absolutely love, that sort of stuff. Like we would really love to have a ongoing dialogue with you about best practices from your experience in the space, like 1,000,000%. So yeah, fully on board with that one. Ali says, great stuff, Mr. Rothwaffles. Thank you so much, Ali. Sean says, thank you. Can the links and whatnot for submitting be pinned and posted? Yes, Dust. Those are pinned and posted in the content creators channel of this Discord. So the link that Barvin has just sent you, that is just going to transport you to another channel in the Discord. You won't get kicked out of the call, don't worry. And that will, either the pinned messages in there contain both links. Will there be a mobile game version similar to Snap or Magic the Gathering Arena? So Fitch is definitely the best person to talk to about this. As well, Fitch, do you want to field this question?
Yeah, that one is challenging. I think when you see the parallel client, you'll understand why it's challenging. There's a lot going on in there. So mobile as a form factor is difficult, but we are interested in it. Of course, it's something that we would like to get to that place, but it's not something that I can say exactly when that would potentially be the case yet. It's just it's difficult to do. So for now, just expect to be PC and then relatively soon Mac as well. But there's some so I want to do a rundown of the cards. I think are good / interesting, but I heard there are many changes being made since alpha. Yeah, there's a lot of rebalancing. I'm not sure if all of that would reflect in the deck builder. So maybe it's easier to take a step back and do a little bit more high level type of content in that realm. So, more about the parallels, more about the paragons, more about macro play styles, less about the actual specific card functions and effects, because it is possible that those things might shift around a little bit. So I think if you want to kind of approach more strategic content, that would be maybe the way to go.
Something also that I want to piggyback there, and I want to join to another question we had about content. I've lost it in the chat now, but just in terms of being strategic about what content you're actually making, right? And this speaks to, sadly, my Discord is doing the bug where it's cutting off everyone's name, but whoever you are, who said, in your opinion, what's the best way to not anger the no NFT crowd? Is there a good way to create parallel content for general gamers without them thinking we're hiding NFTs from them or throwing them in their face? So the answer to sort of both of those is, ultimately here, you have two audiences, just in general, on the internet, I'd say right now, for a game like this. You have an audience of speculators and crypto enjoyers and etc. And then you have an audience of gamers. And right now, the audience of gamers is not being spoken to with content, because right now the content that exists, the little of it that exists in general industry-wide, is speculator content primarily. Let's be honest here. And it's people saying, I think this token is going to do this. I think that this project is going to do this, etc. from a speculation point of view. What we would love to encourage, and what I would really very strongly love to encourage, is this sort of content, which is completely focused on the actual gamers and serving the gamers' interests, right? People that just want to jump on a game and figure out if it's fun or not, and then figure out how to win and make it more fun, right? And so, Mobius, to your point, you've got to remember that a lot of people, the vast majority of people jumping in, they are not going to know that there even was an alpha, so they might not really care too much at this present moment that there are changes from alpha. That's gonna mean that you're appealing to a very narrow cohort of people if you're specifically talking about the changes. Obviously, if you're just talking about making sure that you know what the changes are, then totally fair. I get it. But if you're making content for that general population of gamers, then it almost doesn't matter so much what the other layers of monetization are on top. Like, you can make content about Overwatch and not tell people about the loot box system that was in at launch, right? You can make content about, like, for example, myself, I make content about Call of Duty. I get given COD points to use to spend on skins in the game and things like that. I'm not interested in skins. Personally, in Call of Duty, I'm just not interested, so I don't make content about that. It's never part of my content. Some people out there think that Call of Duty's skin system and the way that it like refreshes every year with every new game and stuff is awful. They really hate that. And they make content about hating it. But in my instance, I don't make content saying I love it. I don't make content promoting it. I just don't cover it. And because it's gamer-focused content, the algorithm is going to recognize that someone that doesn't like that content is clicking off, and so it's not going to serve it to more of those people. Whereas the people that are interested in the gameplay or the highlight or the strategy, etc., are going to watch to the end, and so it's going to find more people that want that sort of content and continue to surface your videos and streams, etc., to them.
We've got a really good question here.
Yeah, hit me.
Where we actually had a discussion about this today internally, and I think that we want to put out a lot more information on this. Kawatek's question around card acquisition system if players don't go down the NFT route. So essentially the way that this is going to work is via apparitions, and apparitions are the digital non-NFT versions of cards, right? So you will progressively unlock them. You will unlock basically the core set by playing in the rookie queue, and then you will unlock more as you go, essentially. And if you want to basically unlock more digital versions of cards that are non-NFTs more immediately, you'd be able to purchase packs of apparitions if you want to do that. And then if you want to basically have the full play to earn, immediate unlock type of experience, then the NFTs would give you that. So there's effectively like three different types of paths. There's like, I don't want to pay a single dollar. And that's totally fine. There is a path for you to do that. And it will just be more of a progressive unlock with like a core set unlocked almost immediately. and then more additional cards unlocked as you go. There would be essentially I want to unlock more right away, and I don't want NFTs type of a track. And then there's I want the full play to earn type of experience with the unlocks, and that's the NFT track. So really, you could think of it as kind of 3 ways to play. And part of the beta is looking at that system and saying, okay, where is this working, and where is it maybe not working, and what adjustments do we need to make to that? And so someone in your position, I think like feedback would be quite valuable on that type of a system. If we get into there and it's like, oh, this is feeling a little too slow, maybe we need to be unlocking more a little bit quicker, then that's something that we can take a look at. So yeah, your follow-up, if you want to whale, spend more to earn cards faster without entering the NFT route, yes, that is an option. So there is a completely free to play option. There's I'd like to skip a little bit of this unlock process and not engage with NFTs. And then there's I want the full kit and caboodle. I want to earn Prime. I want to have all these other kind of cosmetic benefits. That's the NFT route. So yeah, great question. Very important. And I think that content on that subject will probably end up being pretty important. I
also saw a question here just about, so again, sorry, Discord's doing a glitch, so I can't read your name, which is really unfortunate right now. But S says, I make Marvel Snap content and a lot of players are legitimately interested in value prop 1 bundles and pack openings too. So to be clear, don't get us wrong, that content is also great. Like, if you want to make that content, totally fine. We're not going to sit here and say, please make videos about like monetization stuff. That's your call. But there are, as you say, there are equally folks in all communities that their main thing is like opening CS cases until they get a knife or whatever, right? Like, those things exist. I totally recognize that, and totally recognize that some of that content is super good. It's really, really entertaining, etc. So I don't want to dissuade you from doing the thing that you want to do, but I just don't want to point you in a direction of something you don't want to do, if that makes sense.
So there, real quick. So he says there's a free-to-play version, a Dolphin version. I'm not sure necessarily what that means, and a pay-to-win. There's no. I don't know if that's exactly what you meant there. There's no pay-to-win element there. Like, you're not going to be better at the game for having NFTs, right? It just means that you could skip ahead and go to like ranked matches with a full deck quicker than you otherwise could, essentially. So like, whether you go through the full progression or not, there's 2 ways to avoid or like skip ahead in progression, essentially. And one of those would be non-NFT apparition packs. Like I said, you will earn apparitions as you go anyway. So it's not something where you're going to have to purchase them if you don't want to, but you could. And then there's also, if you get NFTs, you get to participate in play to earn ecosystem versus you do not participate in that ecosystem if you don't have the NFTs. So that's the only difference there. You're not getting a game advantage for having NFTs.
Also, to echo what was said in the chat just now, there is no non-disclosure agreement in place in terms of, and I should be very specific here, in terms of those of you that are just like signing up to, like, you're submitting content, you're getting beta access, you are not under some kind of NDA, or you're not going to need to be under some kind of NDA in order to get that access, and you're not going to need to follow some kind of specific NDA in posting content from that beta. If you have a separate NDA, obviously, whether it's like something to do with you working with the team, if the team is NDAing you for some other specific activation. So let's, for instance, and I don't want this to turn into something silly, so I'm going to be very clear. I'm making this up right now, but let's say day 1 of the beta, we were also paying X number of people Y number of dollars to make Z number of videos, right? There might be NDAs in place for specific separate activations like that, but just in terms of jumping on the beta and making a video, the floodgates are open. Like, you're good.
Yeah. So there was an NDA for alpha. There is not for beta. So that's what they're referencing, is that the alpha access required the signing of an NDA to get that access, but that is not the case anymore.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, if you're in, like, forever. So that's an interesting thing that I don't know that maybe people know, that you're not going to get kicked out like you did in alpha after a certain period of time. Once you're in a wave for beta, you will permanently have access to Parallel. So that's essentially how it's going to work. It's just progressive, where we start to add more and more people in over time and progress towards an open play format. But once you get in a certain wave, the intention was that we built the client in such a way that the client itself would auto update, so we don't have to have that type of a system where we kick you out and then make changes to the client and then re-roll it out. So that is the way that it will work. You're going to remain in beta indefinitely.
Also, I saw someone earlier say, is the game like how do you actually play the game? And so, to echo what Fisher said, it's a client. So you would download a client. It is not a mobile game, certainly not right now, at least. And it is not, as far as I understand it, Fitch, it's the client, right? That's the way you play. That's it, right?
Yeah. So there's the client. The client will progressively update. That's how it's been built, so that updates would be pushed directly to the client. We're working on a launcher. We're exploring other ways to launch the client. So, but yeah, it's downloadable, and then once you download it, the idea is that it would actually update itself henceforth.
Are alpha users guaranteed beta access, Fitch?
Yes, they are.
Cool. Awesome.
The first wave is essentially going to be, I think we've said this publicly. If we haven't, then whoops. All Ardent program, and then anyone who was in alpha before at any point, and then anyone who has completed this content creator activation that we've mentioned here today. So
and to be specific, the and thens that you were just saying, are they separate waves? So it's like it's like an Ardent and then others at some later date or something, or is it? What's the plan there?
So we haven't made a final call on this, but I was talking to Scale about it. I don't think that it makes sense to have them be separate necessarily. Mm-hmm. It's just more players in one pool. So you're going to have more matchups. You're going to have less latency when you're matchmaking. Like, it doesn't actually make sense to have them be separate. So I'm personally advocating that they not be. I don't see anyone losing in that situation. It's just more players in the pool. But that's kind of the TLDR there. And then so as we progress with different waves, right? Each wave is essentially just going to be larger than the last. And we're also looking at referral systems where, if you're in a wave and you have completed certain actions, X number of games played type of a thing, that you would be able to refer a friend. So you would unlock a referral by playing in your wave of the beta. That would, you'd be able to get a friend in. And we think that's a fun way to sort of continue to scale up organically while scaling up in the manner that we have it structured. And so you're going to essentially start to see larger and larger pools of prospective people coming in these different waves. The waves will probably be approximately 2 weeks long. I mean, we haven't arrived at a final number there necessarily, but essentially we're scaling through closed into open. And that's kind of the thought process, is that, it becomes less closed as we go. No, there is no beta client to download yet. That will be made available for, folks on the day that the beta starts, essentially. And there will be a way to download that from our website. So,
and also, just to stress this, because I don't want any of you guys getting scammed, there are a few specific scams that content creators specifically often get hit with, and I actually, in hindsight, I should have added this to my slides, but it's just come into my head now. So please, let me just give you a very, very quick piece of advice here. I've personally had creators lose their entire YouTube channels to this, that they've spent like 10 years on, so Don't make that mistake. Something that really frequently will happen, especially in a scenario like this where it's new territory, is someone will fake an email from the team. So they'll pretend that it's from Parallel, pretend it's from Echelon or whatever. And they'll say in the email something like, oh, we would love to do like a paid activation with you. And so your brain lights up at like, oh shit, they chose me to like, they want to pay me for content? Hell yeah. So you get excited, but then they say, yeah, download this like PDF or something for the details. You download it and it rats your PC and they get all your details, right? So just to reiterate, and we're going to have to keep doing this as we go here, like quadruple check anytime there's any kind of download happening, or even you're just clicking any kind of link. Obviously, this is an issue just in the space in general, but even more so now that we're moving forward. And there will be a download at some point because you'll be downloading the game, right? So you're going to want to check 10 times that you're downloading the right thing, and it's only coming from official channels. And even then, you're making sure that the official channels haven't been hacked or what have, like, you want to make sure through all of your usual OPSEC processes that you are not putting yourself at risk in any way, okay? There will never be a surprise mint. There will never be a surprise, put your information in here, give me your social security, and you get like early access, or you get a specific like creator program reward. Like that will not happen. There won't be any like sus DM, like just please, please, please. I don't want any of you to come a cropper here. Be very like as careful as you possibly can be over the next month.
And we'll, building on Milo's point here, we'll share what the type of channels would be that you could expect to receive messages from the team. So obviously the content creators channel here in Discord, that's going to be a great place to connect. Milo has that email that he provided.
Yep.
We can indicate other team members who would be, and what those handles are, who would be contacting you about content. So
Yep.
that stuff will be clarified well in advance, and you won't have to sort of, assume the legitimacy of anything. So
yeah. Also, just really,
the-
really quick with this email right now, guys, if you add that email to your contacts in your email client, there's usually in email clients a way for you to flag a contact as like either VIP or priority or something. And that way, if someone spoofs this email or makes their email look like this email, like they put like a 1 instead of the L, for instance, to try and trick you. If you've already added the real one to your contacts, then there's more likelihood that it's from me. But even then, if you get an email from me, you can always double check that it's me in the Discord. Like you can always double check with other community members or just with me in here as well. I've done that multiple times where we've been working on stuff internally and I've been like, okay, just to be 1,000,000% sure that this is legit. And the other members of the team do this as well. The OPSEC of the teams has been really good, but like we'll always cross check on other platforms and in other avenues to make sure that stuff is real, because there's just a lot of that sort of surface area for risk in this space. So we want to minimize that and look out for each other. Yes,
great
space
call
as
out.
well.
Yeah, great call out there. Somebody asked, will the alpha client update into the beta client? No, you that whatever version you have, you can assume would be deprecated. You would need to download fresh the version that we put out. So I think that was everything. I mean, we covered a lot.
Yeah. Any last final question or two? I'm pretty content that we've covered 99% of stuff. But if there's any last things, so just while any very final questions roll in, just a final reminder: if you haven't yet signed up on the creator contact list, that initial link, it is pinned in the content creators channel of this Discord, and then create just a thing of any kind in the next, as soon as. We'd love to see it tomorrow. That'd be amazing. But create a thing of any kind and submit it to this submission link, and that will guarantee you beta access. And it will also be the same link that you use to submit your best pieces of content or your best piece of content and that will get you in the running and considered for a little sprinkling of some Prime rewards to just sweeten the deal and kick things off here. Looks like all the questions have been answered though, so thank you all so much for showing up. We've had some really great attendance here today, some really great questions, and I'm excited to see all of you grow your businesses, honestly, in the next couple of months, alongside Parallel growing its player base and becoming a real mainstay in the TCG community.
Yeah, and just as a final note, it's going to be a lot of opportunity to grow together here. We want to shine a light on people who are helping us grow, having that mutualism. We are going to be spending, money on really marketing this thing and putting it out to the world. And part of that involves content. And, so as we start to get more attention, and I do genuinely believe we're sort of the best product in Web3 gaming, we are going to make sure that those who are helping us with content are getting their attribution as well. So really want this to be a mutualistic relationship. That's why we're working with Milo, because he knows how to do this stuff, and frankly I don't. So we're relying on his expertise here to make sure that our relationships with content creators are mutualistic and everybody's really winning. So
amazing. Okay, I'm going to end the recording there.